Hi Sloths, and welcome to my fourth unpopular opinion video. Today we're going to be tackling Super Smash Bros. Brawl, of all things. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, isn't Brawl that one game that no one likes in the Smash franchise? Yeah, it is. Except from I really like it, that's my unpopular opinion, I really like Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Whereas a lot of people, especially the competitive Smash community, hate Brawl. And I mean hate with a burning passion. What I'm going to be doing for this one is first I'm going to list, well not list, but talk about the reasons why people dislike Brawl. And then later on I'll talk about the reasons why I really like Brawl. And the first thing I want to get into is the obvious competitive play. So there is this one phrase that you will hear constantly if you are a fan of Super Smash Bros. And that is, it's not melee. And what that basically means is, it's not a broken and glitchy mess like melee is. Now I'm probably going to get a lot of angry comments at some point in the future being like, oh, melee was great, it's the best game in the franchise, it's one of the best games ever made. No, it's not. It's a fucking broken mess. Have you played it? But that's the reason why people like melee so much. People enjoy being able to expose all these little bugs and use them competitively. Now, that's a pretty cool idea, using glitches, technical issues and things like that to get an advantage over other people. And they all have tournaments and things like that for melee and what's it called? Forget me words here. And they also have rules in place to stop people from using certain techniques that just basically destroy a lot of other people using bugs or whatever. I think I just lost my track of words then. Anyway, basically it's not melee means that it's not broken like melee. People enjoy messing around with melee, people enjoy fighting on melee, but they don't like it in Brawl. And one major reason for that is the random tripping or slipping function in Brawl, where if you run too much you can trip or slip and it breaks up the fighting and it's really annoying. I never really noticed this too much whilst I was playing the game, but now that I'm looking into like the reasons as to why people dislike it, I can kind of see it. It's like hazy memories. I can kind of remember those random times where I just slip up. But when I usually notice this in game, it was usually when I was playing as Diddy Kong and I was chucking bananas around and anyway, next little thing, it just wasn't competitively popular. I know this because when I was a little bit younger I used to try and play online and no one really was on. This was back in ye olden days where I actually wanted to test myself against other people and thought that I was actually good at Smash, which I am really not. I used to be a lot better than what I am now. I haven't played in a really long time, but whatever. Next little thing is Meta Knight. Meta Knight is OP. I only know this because when I actually did play Brawl when I was growing up, I would constantly play as Meta Knight. Meta Knight was like my main. I think it was Meta Knight and Ike. I think they were my mains. Yeah. Or Kirby. Sometimes it was Kirby. I really like Kirby. I should play a Kirby game sometime soon. I really want to play the new Kirby game that's coming out. Anyway, that's a stupid tangent. I can't remember why Meta Knight is overpowered. I think it was his... I think it was just his special. You know, the tornado move that spins around. I think people were able to exploit that and rack up some crazy combos, but whatever. But because of how slow the fighting was, and the animations and stuff like that, it felt like the game was nerfed. And it just wasn't competitively a viable game. People didn't enjoy playing Smash Brawl competitively. It wasn't, you know, like I've said before, it's not Melee. Woo! And people also complained about some stages not returning. I can't remember which ones, but whatever. And the last little thing about the competitive play in Brawl, the Wi-Fi lag. There was a lot of Wi-Fi lag. If ever I actually managed to get a connection with anyone and play against them, there was quite a lot of Wi-Fi lag. Not gonna lie, it was not fun. But that was back in the olden days where Wi-Fi was still kind of not the most big thing. But I am going to move on now to another major reason why people dislike or hate Brawl. Subspace Emissary. Now, people seem to think that Subspace Emissary was too long, it was confusing, it was hard, it was boring, and it was predictable. I'm gonna explain later on why I think this is a load of shit. But, yeah. People actually thought that it was like a hard game at some points. I mean, it depends on what level difficulty you was playing, but apparently it was quite unfair in some spaces. I don't remember it being too unfair in most places. Apart from Taboo. Taboo was quite difficult. I mean, I thought it was difficult. Taboo was the final boss, if you didn't know. I have no idea what's going off with my model. Okay, are we calm? Is the model calm? Okay. Technical difficulties. Woo. People often thought that Subspace Emissary went on for too long and it was really boring. Like, the story was really boring as well. I disagree with that, but people thought that. And it's a really, really common thought. And I'm really surprised about that. Especially because when they announced Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, there was like, where's the story? We have no story. We want a story like Subspace Emissary, but better. And it confuses me why people hated Subspace Emissary but want it back so much. Like, it makes no sense. What's the next point? The next point is, it was confusing. People thought that the Great Maze especially was confusing, and I will admit, the Great Maze was horrendously confusing. I was stuck on that for so long. Not a good thing, but oh well, whatever. I really wished that they had more going on, but it was less confusing, less maze-like, and you could find things a little bit easier. Like, I don't know, just more of a better map, or more of a map, or, you know, a good place, like a good middle ground to be like, this is where you need to be, and these are the objectives you've got left. And because the roster was, you know, at the time it looked like it was so big, people were constantly forgetting, especially me, forgetting about certain characters that they needed to go and save, and then I couldn't find them because it was too big and too confusing. But yeah, I think there was also a complaint about not all the characters being in the story. There was like 3 characters that weren't in the story. I think that was like Jigglypuff, Wolf, and someone else that I can't remember the name of. I don't think that's necessarily too bad of a thing, but I can kind of see the complaint. People didn't like the story. They thought the story was really boring and predictable. I can kind of understand why, but I also disagree with that. I really liked the story, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, another big complaint that I saw was the graphics. People was like, oh, it looks really dark, it looks really ugly. I actually quite liked this. The funny thing is, in development, they actually wanted to add in, like, what was it, like graphic damage? I can't remember what you actually are supposed to call it, but it was like, when you get hit, and when you get to a certain damage percent, the character's clothes or armor would start to break or would get like really worn and torn and things like that. They wanted to add that, and that's, I think, the main reason why they went for a more dark, grungy and realistic, I'm doing air quotes here, you can't see, but they wanted to do sort of a more realistic approach with that, which, fair enough. But I think it was a little bit too out of the depth at the time, especially for a Wii. It was like too much for it, so they decided to just skip doing that. And it never came back really, I don't think. I'm trying to remember if there was any point where that actually came back. You know, the damage, the graphic damage. I don't even know what you call it, I can't remember that. Anyway, moving on to the next thing, which is Ganondorf on a spaceship. Now, this was a tiny little comment that I saw one point years ago. Someone was talking about how it was really strange to see Ganondorf on a spaceship, and then there was also like sort of pointing out that Bowser and Ganondorf would actually like never work either with each other or with Taboo, or for Taboo even. So yeah, that is a little bit confusing, kind of a little bit unrealistic, but also really fun to think about. But if you think about the lore of the games, this, oh dear, what is happening with my model? Oh, I don't know. What was I saying? Oh yeah, sorry, I keep getting sidetracked by this stupid model. I don't know what's going on with it. Might be because the camera's too low? Well, I don't know. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. People also was very confused about Wario being a villain. He kind of like surprised everyone. He kind of like came out of nowhere and was like, ha ha ha, I am a villain, yeah. I am never doing that again. I'm so sorry. But yeah, people was really confused about Wario being a villain. Everyone thought Wario was sort of like an anti-hero. And I don't know why, because he's like never really been an anti-hero. I guess you could count in some of the Wario games he is his own hero. I have no idea. There's another thing that I do want to get into, the stickers. Not many people seem to even know what the stickers are, and people seem to have completely forgotten about them, and so did I. In fact, I think I went nearly an entire playthrough without even knowing what the hell the stickers were for. And basically, these stickers they work kind of like how spirits work now in Ultimate, where you put it on this badge thing, and depending on the stickers, it'll increase certain stats. That's all it was. It was a nice little gimmick, but people thought it was like kind of stupid and pointless because it was one of the most forgettable things, and it just didn't seem right. I don't know. Another couple of complaints people had about Space Emissary was there was no Metal Mario boss fight, and the entire game was just hyped up too much, and people thought that the game was a bit of a letdown. People now think that about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I can kind of see why, but I kind of also disagree, but that's just me. Now the next thing The next major thing that people didn't like about Smash Brawl was roster. There was characters missing from the roster from previous games, like what was it, Pichu? Yeah, people complained about not having Pichu back. Why? Pichu's like the worst. I hate Pichu. Pichu needs to die. I'm so sorry for anyone who's actually a Pichu fan, but seriously, let's just end Pichu. Just no more Pichu, please. No more Pichu. And there was another one that people were really complaining about, and that was Mewtwo. Like, oh no, Mewtwo's not in the game, why? Mewtwo was cut content for time constraints, I think. I can't remember. I think it was time constraints. There were also cancelled characters like the Villager, the Nintendog. That would have been really cool to have Nintendog as a playable character. Villager we eventually got. They also considered using Blastoise instead of Squirtle. It would have been really interesting to actually see the full evolutions of all the starters. So you had Blastoise, Charizard and Venusaur. That would have been kind of cool, but oh well. There was also Crystal from Star Fox, I think it is, that was supposed to be in the game but got cancelled. Ridley, I think that came from a tweet or something from Sakurai where he was like, oh, we was planning on having Ridley in, or we thought about having Ridley in but didn't have Ridley in. Instead he was just a boss fight. Which was really cool anyway. I really liked that boss fight. Because he also turned into Meta Ridley, or did he come back as Meta Ridley? Either way. And then there was Pac-Man, which we eventually got. The Mii, which we eventually got. And then Geno. Oh, okay, so I have played Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. I'm also one of the very few people who actually call it by its full name. And yes, I have seen Geno. I have played Geno in the game. Do I really care about Geno? No. What is it? I don't understand why everyone really loves Geno. I mean, he's just a mysterious doll with mysterious star powers. That's it. Sure, it could have been really cool to have him as a fighter, and in Project M, I think they actually made him a full fighter. Not entirely sure about that, but whatever. I don't get the massive hype surrounding Geno, especially in Smash. I don't know. I mean, I think there'd be millions of others that are like a better fit than Geno, but whatever. At least we got him as a Mii costume, I suppose. Was he a Mii Gunner? I can't even remember. Ugh. There was also characters that people really wanted but didn't get, like Mega Man, Bowser Jr., Birdo for some reason. I don't know why people wanted Birdo so much, but people probably still want Birdo in. And then there was people who really wanted Lyn from Fire Emblem, which is really hilarious because like a few years down the line, people was like, more Fire Emblem characters? No! Everyone hates Fire Emblem characters. I'm one of those people who kind of doesn't mind it too much, but do think that they have too many reps. I have no idea. And another complaint that I see people having every now and then, and it's a little bit of a complaint of mine as well, is that there is no original characters on the roster. There still, to this very day, are no original Smash characters on the roster, apart from the Mii's. But, yeah, I would actually really like to see an original character on the roster in the future if they ever do another Smash game, which is kind of likely some point in the future. I have no idea. So, with all that being said, I now want to get into why I like Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The first thing I want to say is I really like the dog style in town. It's just obvious. I mentioned it earlier. I really like it. Next thing is villains. The villains are working together, and it's really cool to see. It's just really cool. I like it. Next thing is all the emotions in the cutscenes are conveyed without dialogue, and I think that's a really, really nice way to do it, because everyone there seems to be a bit of a silent protagonist. And it's really, really cool to see all these silent protagonists conveying all their emotions silently in a game where it's just full of silent protagonists. I just think it's really cool. There are multiple routes and storylines that you can go for. Of course, all the storylines sort of end the same. They all go to the same place in the end, but there's different characters, routes and storylines that you can go through, and it's really cool to see that. And they finally brought Pit back. That's kind of cool. Sakurai actually brought Pit back, and no one was expecting that. There was also new characters like Sonic, Rob, Snake, which was... I'm still confused why Snake's even in Smash. Why? Why is Snake in Smash? Anyway, I thought it was really cool how the Robs were enemies, and then the Ancient Minister reveal was the fact that it was actually like the original Rob. Really, really liked that. Wasn't expecting it. Didn't even know who Rob was at that time. But now that I know who Rob is, I think it's really, really cool. There's enemies from other games, like the boss fights, where you have Rayquaza, you have Ridley, you have Meta Ridley. You also have like these small little mini boss fights with other characters in the roster, like Charizard, and all the like the dark alts, or like cosmic clone versions of the other characters, or whatever you want to call them. And yeah, there was also the Mario characters, the Mario enemies that were in the jungle sections. I thought that was really cool. But what was also really cool was that most of the enemies were original enemies. And it's a real shame that like nearly all of them never come back in the future games. I mean, the only thing we had that came back, I think, was the Dualon or something like that. The pink and blue giant robot thing that came back in Ultimate as a boss fight. I think that's the only thing that actually came back, and it's it's a real shame that none of the Pyramids or Primids or whatever you call them came back, or all the other Robs, they never came back. I would really like to see a Pyramid or Primid, however you're supposed to pronounce it, come back as an original fighter on the roster, but yeah, whatever. Missions were really cool. I liked the missions, and they were tough when they needed to be. They weren't always like the hardest things in the universe, but there were some that were really tough and really good and well thought out. I liked it. All-Star mode, that was fun. The cinematic cutscenes were really good. My favourite cutscene in the entire game is the one where Lucas is running away from Porky. I really liked that cutscene. It's just so good. If you ever get a chance, just go and watch the cutscenes in the game. They don't always look like the best, but they are just really well made and really well done. I think they're pre-rendered cutscenes as well, so yeah, interesting. The music in the game was phenomenal. Not all of them were like the best tracks that they could have pulled from other games, but most of them were really good, and they also remixed quite a few, so that was really cool to see. Like I said earlier, the stickers were a nice touch, but they were kind of pointless and forgotten, so it's nice to see it, but it's kind of pointless. the game actually has better graphics and animations. Like, it's more technically advanced than Melee was, and it's not completely broken and busted, and there's less glitches and stuff. And I'm a big fan of not having my games break and not dying because of stupid bugs, or having stupid bugs mess up parts of the game. I do like to see it every now and then because sometimes it can be really, really funny. But if I'm playing it and I'm kind of, you know, trying not to get destroyed by things and then something messes me up, I just kind of don't want that to happen. And now, one of the biggest things that people actually really praise Brawl for is that it has new Final Smashers. Well, it has Final Smashers. It introduced Final Smashers. I'm pretty sure it did. I don't remember it being in Melee, but it could have been. Like, I don't know, my brain's not working today, and it's not something that I've looked up. But I'm pretty sure Brawl introduced Final Smashers, and if it did, brilliant. It's one of the best things about the game. I really love Final Smashers. Everyone loves Final Smashers. Now, the next little thing is new stages. Just new stages. New stages, they're always nice. I like to get new stages. Not all the stages were brilliant, like Hanbo. Hanbo, no one really cared for, I don't think. But yeah. Now, the last little thing I want to talk about is a little bit of a story about when I first got or played, my model's being stupid again, when I first got and played Brawl. So, I was walking home from school, and then halfway home, my parents actually picked me up, which was really strange because my parents had recently split up. Well, not recently, like a few months ago they split up. And they both sort of like halfway home picked me up, and they actually gave me Brawl as a gift, and then they told me that they were getting back together, and I thought that was like a really, really brilliant thing. And after that, it was like one of the best days ever. I got home, I played loads of Brawl, and I just played more Brawl and more Brawl, and I was so happy because my parents were getting back together. But that didn't last long. I think it was only like a couple of months later, and it was like, yeah, okay, this is definitely not working again. I'm leaving. Yeah, that was a fun time in my life. Sarcasm, sarcasm, sarcasm. So, that's going to be the end of the video. I really, really do like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I do try and give a convincing argument anytime someone's like, oh, Brawl is it's shit, it's crap, it's not Melee. So, to anyone there who is like, oh, Brawl's not very good, it's not Melee, fuck off. It's a great game with a great story. It does cutscenes really, really well. It introduced Final Smashers, I think. Don't quote me on that. The missions were good. The boss fights were great. There was humour in it. And I still think that the opening cutscene, not the opening cutscene, but the opening for a game, when you stay on the menu long enough, or first boot up the game, or whatever you want to call it, I still think that is the best. I actually, before making this video, went and looked at all the openings for the games, and I could have sworn that Smash Ultimate's opening was more epic and more cool and interesting than what it actually is. Like, I remember it being really, 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 really good. But I think it's either going to be Brawl or Smash 4 that takes the cake for me, because I thought Smash 4's opening cutscene thing was really, really good. Anyway, that is going to be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It's always free, and I'll see you later.